It is September the 8th. I have 6 p.m. on my dial, and I will call the Planning and Zoning Commission for the City of College Station to order. If everyone will rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We would like to thank everyone for attending with us here tonight. We will try to get through everything as procedurally and graciously as we can. Item number 2 is hear visitors. At this time, I will open up the floor for visitors wishing to address this commission on agenda items not already on tonight's agenda. The secretary has informed me that no one has signed up for hear visitors. Is there anyone that would like to step forward? I want to make sure this time because I've skipped it before. Seeing no one, we will move forward to the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda are considered routine by the commission. What we have on there is just our minutes from September the 4th. Does anyone have any questions, or do we need to remove anything from the consent agenda? If not, then I will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is approved. We will skip agenda item 4 since we did not pull anything off and move on to agenda 5, our regular agenda. Item 5.1 is a public hearing, presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding an ordinance amending Appendix A of the Unified Development Ordinance, Article 4, Zoning Districts, Section 4.2, Official Zoning Map of the Code of Ordinances for the City of College Station, Texas, by changing the zoning district boundaries from R rural to E estate on approximately 4 acres, generally located on the corner of Yopon Lane and Bradley Road. And Mr. Seagraves,
Yes, sir.
welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Garrett Seagraves, Planning and Development Services. This evening's request is to rezone an estimated 4-acre tract located west of the intersection of Bradley Road and Yopon Lane. The property is currently undeveloped, and the owner wants to split the lot into 2 single-family developments, while rurally zoned single-family lots surround the property. This property's comprehensive land use is estate residential. The estate residential land use allows for single-family residential areas that have a low level of development activities, which are appropriate for very low-density residential lots of 1 acre or greater. The request tonight is to rezone the property from R rural to E estate. After discussion and review, staff has determined that this request met the outlined rezoning criteria, such as being consistent with the comp plan, a fitting use appropriate to the area, and having physical suitability with the proposed district. To conclude my presentation, staff is recommending approval of the rezoning request from R rural to E estate. This will be heard on the October 9th City Council meeting in 3 weeks, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Seagraves?
Mr. Seagraves, am I understanding correctly that if rezoned to estate, the maximum homes per acre would be 1 home per acre? Is that what you said, not more than?
Correct.
And so the maximum amount for this 4-acre tract could be 4 homes?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
But the proposal is to divide it in half, correct?
Yes, sir. That's what the property owner wants to do with the rezoning, yes.
But he could divide it into 4 1
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
On the adjoining properties, is it 1 house on those right now, or what is on those?
Most are single-family or undeveloped rural lots.
So none of them are subdivided in any way beyond what they're laid out right here?
No, sir.
Any other questions? Is the applicant here? Did the applicant have anything that they wish to say? If you could do us a favor and state your name clearly and your address.
Chuck Morrow, 2737 Cloisters, College Station, 77845.
Thank you, sir.
So my whole intention was to subdivide it into 2 2-acre tracts. My oldest son would like to move out to Carter Lake subdivision, and this gives him an opportunity to do so. And that phase in the restrictions are the restrictions are you can only build on a 2-acre tract in that phase of that survey. So, you know, if you want to divide it into 1-acre tracts, you would have to get the entire HOA 100% approval to do so. So that's not what we're seeking. We are seeking just the 2-acre tracts at this time.
So to clarify his question, even though the zoning would allow it, the deeds would not?
The deed would not let it go into more than 2
Into 2,
acres. That is correct.
Any other questions?
I guess not really for him, but is it possible if we have anybody from the HOA who can confirm that?
To confirm
That what he just said?
what
that-
the deeds are, I wouldn't think there is any, I mean, is there anybody here that can help confirm that? I'm sorry? Oh, he used to be the president.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to be president of HOA for about 10 years, so,
Okay.
I mean, I'm very familiar, but
Thank you.
Good evening, Joe Schultz with Schultz Engineering. I read those deed restrictions.
Yes, sir.
It does say 2 acres.
Does that answer your question? Would anyone else like to speak? Well, actually, for that, this is scheduled for a public hearing. I will now open the public hearing. The secretary has let us know that no one is scheduled to or has asked to speak. Is there anyone that would like to speak forward or step forward? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and open it up for discussion and/or a motion.
I'll move to approve the rezoning request.
I'll second that.
Well, we have 2 seconds. We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. That passes. Moving on to 5.2, a public hearing, presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding an ordinance amending Appendix A, Unified Development Ordinance, Article 4, Zoning Districts, Section 4.2, Official Zoning Map of the Code of Ordinances for the City of College Station, Texas, by changing the zoning district boundary from R Rural to GS General Suburban on approximately 237.65 acres, generally located on Greens Prairie Road, east of the intersection of Greens Prairie Road and W.S. Phillips Parkway. Ms. Blassingame.
Thank you all. Becca Blasingame, Staff Planner with Planning and Development. As mentioned, this item 5.2 is a public hearing, presentation, discussion, and possible action for approximately 237.65 acres located east of the intersection of W.S. Phillips Parkway and Greens Prairie Road. They are requesting the zoning change from the existing zoning of R Rural to GS General Suburban. The future land use currently of the property is suburban residential, which is designed for the following: single-family residential areas that consist of low to moderate density single-family lots. Development types tend to be highly consistent with subdivision or neighborhoods. The intent of this district is to encourage community facilities, parks, greenways within neighborhoods, accommodate streetscape features such as sidewalks, street trees, and lighting. When establishing new residential areas or expanding existing developments, provide pedestrian and vehicular connectivity with adjacent developments. The only appropriate zoning districts for this future land use are currently restricted suburban and general suburban, which again is what the applicant is looking to rezone to tonight. Again, the existing zoning district, R Rural, is actually not consistent with the existing future land use of suburban residential. The desired zoning district of general suburban is in compliance with the future land use of suburban residential. There has been discussion of possibly 1,800 homes looking to be developed in this area. That is a number that's possibly generated with the calculations of lot size and the max dwelling units per acre that we have in our general suburban residential development standards. However, with the TIA that was proposed with this development, they're looking to more approximately 800 homes from what we've been told. If that doesn't, that does change, the TIA would have to be reviewed again. But staff is recommending approval of this rezoning as it is in line with the comprehensive plan. This application will be presented to City Council on October 9th. We've been reached out numerously by many people, very small amount of inquiries, mostly people voicing discontent or opposition with this proposal. But I'm available for questions, as is the applicant.
Any questions for Ms. Blassingame?
I just have a question.
Yes, sir.
Basically, a couple of questions. some of the concerns that have come up is transportation, infrastructure, overcrowding of schools. Do you happen to know if the school district owns any property in this area for that many additional homes going in?
Not to my knowledge. Can you, I'm going to defer to Mr. Anthony Armstrong to confirm, but not to my knowledge.
The school district doesn't own any property in this direct vicinity. They do have multiple areas around. They actually own property off of Arrington Road as well. But they do get information based on our zoning requests for their projections. Currently, actually, for tidbit information, we had a conversation with them earlier today, unrelated to this topic, but they are currently projecting that they are over projecting their population in the school district right now. So they don't perceive any impact or need for additional facilities.
What I see is entry-level homes going in, which would be small families, basically, at the size that are being projected.
Correct.
And,
This would be in compliance with everything surrounding it. It would be similar units per acre, similar size development to Castlegate 2 and surrounding areas.
well, after serving for 12 years on the school board, I know the challenges of a large housing addition going in and not having land near it. And that's why I asked the question, if you know of property that they have potentially in the near vicinity, so that we don't get into what was happening last week in the school district as far as busing students from one side to the other, which is always a challenge.
They own 100 acres directly southeast of this image on the other side of Arrington Road.
Mr. Collins, go ahead.
Ms. Blasingame, do you have the future land use from the UDO map in here?
That is the future land use
The
existing.
future land use is
Yes.
suburban residential?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's for everything on to the east, to the south, and the subject property is all
Yes.
suburban residential in the future land use?
Estate residential is to the south. So essentially, once you get past the green line showing the rezoning area, it does change to estate residential, but this area is also in the extraterritorial jurisdiction.
Thank you, ma'am.
One question, this may be for Jason, Mr. Schubert also, but I want to make sure that I'm clear on this, that based on the TIA, only 800 homes would be able to fit, and if there was anything over that 800, an additional TIA would have to be done before any additional work could be done?
Yes, Jason Schubert, Transportation Planning Administrator. The traffic impact analysis had an assumption actually of the number included was 886, but that wasn't a number they put in to max things out or how far they can go before they got in problems. That was actually just their assumed development. So that's the analysis shows that with the additional traffic from actually the build out of Greensbury Reserve, additional growth in the area, and this development, that the existing roads in this area will handle it. They will be required, based on that analysis, to install a traffic signal at Greensbury Road and William D. Fitch during the first half of the development. But it is the 886 wasn't a max number. It was their proposed number. If they choose to, well, actually, we can do some configuration that would generate more than that. They would have to update the TIA to reflect that higher number and to verify that actually the traffic in the area or the roadway in the area can handle that.
And I'm just trying to make sure for my understanding and maybe for, like, what is the number right now then? Like, if 886 isn't the max number, based on the current TIA, what would be the max number of homes that would be allowed currently with the current TIA?
Well, yeah, the TIA assumed 886.
Oh, okay, so that would be.
So that's what the analysis is based
Okay.
on. If it's at that or below, they're good with doing the signal and.
So 886 or below would work with the current TIA. Anything, so at 887, they would need to come back and
to
present a
update
new
the
TIA. Okay,
Right,
thank you.
but yeah, that wasn't a threshold that was established based on roadway capacity. That was just a development proposal.
Okay.
For the sake of our assembled audience, among the things that we're required to review for criteria for amendments to this map are the available water, wastewater, stormwater, transportation facilities, whether or not they're suitable and adequate for the proposed zoning. We've talked about transportation. I'm assuming that wastewater, available groundwater, and stormwater removal has already been addressed.
Yes, sir. So because of the rezoning, we require a utility demand letter. And it was reviewed by our water services and also our project engineer. It was found to support the proposed development and extensions. Design details, though, would come through the actual platting process.
The other criteria is whether the use permitted by the proposed zoning district will be appropriate in the context of surrounding areas. Obviously, a lot of the feedback we got is that a lot of people don't believe that this is appropriate in the context of the surrounding areas. How would you answer that concern?
The only actual allowed use for residential purposes is single-family detached homes. We do not allow townhomes, duplexes. It's the only allowed residential use is single-family detached homes. You're welcome.
Any other questions? Yeah, this is scheduled for a public, he was asking if people would be allowed to speak, and yes,
Yes,
they will,
sir.
but this is scheduled for a public hearing. Is the applicant here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and if we had no other questions, would the applicant like to step forward? And if you could please state your name and your company for the record.
Adam Kurtz with D.R. Horton. Our address is 1136 Centerpoint Parkway, College Station. I'm available for questions, but we'll reserve until after the public hearing if that works for y'all.
Any questions for the applicant? I do have one. Based on the concerns that were brought to the commission and what was actually brought up here just now, what is your desired, how many desired homes are you looking for this development?
Our plan right now is that 886 number. So that's all we really think we can fit on this. We need to provide space for parks and amenities and boulevard, and there's some major thoroughfare that goes through here that we're going to be building, actually 2 of them that are on the major thoroughfare plan. So we have to leave space for all that. Right now, we don't foresee that we're going to get any more than that.
And again, just for our clarification and those in attendance, that 886 based on the zoning as well is single-family detached homes.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions?
Would your demographic you're aiming for be students by any chance?
Would it be students?
Mm-hmm.
We don't typically target students. We're targeting families. So,
Any other questions? Thank you very much, and like I said,
Thank you.
if we have to bring you up afterwards, we reserve the right to do so. This is scheduled for a public hearing. We do have those that have scheduled based on the secretary, and I will call them up in just a moment. I will say to please state your name clearly and your address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes if possible. First to sign up, and I apologize if I'm messing with your name, Frank Diaz Garelli. Yes, sir.
Frank Diaz-Garelli, 4818 Pearl River Court, that is in Greens Prairie Reserve. We're right next to the tract, and we have seen a lot of changes in Greens Prairie Reserve. We have seen a rezoning of the back portion of the neighborhood to smaller homes. We understand the need for housing and smaller housing for younger families. We also understand that College Station is growing. However, based on what we could read in the documentation, this was a high-density rezoning, and that is the concern from the residents that are in the surrounding neighborhoods. We understand that this rezoning allows for more than 800 homes, and we have no guarantees. Driving on Arrington to get north past Fitch takes a lot of time, usually 2 or 3 lights. And that's because of the Greens Prairie and Arrington convergence. We are very concerned that having 100 homes with families that have to drive to school and things of the sort, that would make things a lot more complicated. We're also concerned about the services and the additional load. And finally, on a more personal note, we moved to College Station to raise our family because this community values down-to-earth people as well as local businesses. One concern of mine is that the developer may not be a local person, and this is something that's important to people in this community. Thank you.
One quick question. You, and I understand the concern that you brought. Does hearing the staff say that with the current TIA that's in place, that it could not be larger than the amount of homes that have been listed, does that address your concerns any, again, without the developer having to come back to the city staff?
It does address the concern of overpopulation partially. The fact that there could be an extension on that and there's no guarantees because the zoning would allow for more does not fully address that. The other concern about the developer now being a local one is not addressed.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Dolores Kimmick Graham.
So I'm Dolores Kamichik Graham.
Kimmick, I apologize, ma'am.
That's okay. Everybody makes them, yeah, it's a difficult name. And I've lived in Greens Prairie Reserve for almost 4 years now, and I'm opposed to this rezoning. My information that when I researched this is that it would be up high density, 8 units per acre. Now currently in Greens Prairie Reserve, we're 4 units per acre, so this is like a lot bigger. I was told 1,800 homes, so I don't know if that was a change since I had talked with the planner and exchanged emails with her. And this is incompatible with the surrounding area, with the homes in the surrounding areas such as Castlegate, Greens Prairie Reserve, Nantucket, and Sweetwater. It's going to stress our water and sewer facilities and could possibly lead to the creation of a mud district, which means more taxes. Another concern is you'll have high-density housing backing up to Greens Prairie Reserve, which there are literally million-dollar homes in our development. So we're very concerned about our property values. And I believe that this will invite out-of-town investors who'll turn these small homes into rentals. And we all know how the state legislature sold us out and changed the occupancy limits. And I know from just driving around in personal experience that these out-of-town investors do not maintain these properties in the way they should. And also, when I looked at the plan, Oldham Oaks is going to be connected to this high-density area. And personally, my house backs up to that, and it's a raceway now. This past week, we even had contractors driving on the sidewalk. So this is a big concern to me. And when I saw this beautiful area next to Greens Prairie Reserve, I knew that one day it would be developed. And I'm not against development. I don't want to give that impression. But I try to keep an open mind about it. And I actually Googled the name of this developer, and I invite you to do that and see all the different things that are on the internet. And I don't believe everything that's on the internet, but if you believe half of it, it's a concern. Such things as class action lawsuits. The other concern I have is we had only 1 week's notice that this was going to happen, this meeting tonight, and I didn't see a sign posted by the planning department. I talked with neighbors around me and in other developments around us, and people didn't know about it. So I posted a notice on the Nextdoor website 2 days ago, and there were over 3,900 views already, and lots of negative comments, particularly about this particular about affordability, But I ask you if the city really can afford this rezoning, given all the concerns that people have.
Thank you very much, ma'am. If I may ask the same question as before, did the staff's explanation of what the density will actually be address any of your concerns?
Well, my concern is that if we approve, it's high density, can go up to 1,800, is my understanding. And if this is approved, I just feel like they're going to come back and say, oh, no, we're going to put more homes. It's going to be 1,000, it's going to be 1,200. I've seen that before. I know how that works. So, we need to stop it now, is my opinion. So I'm asking you to vote no.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Colleen Deeb. Do you have enough for each one of us?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Colleen Deeb. I'm a registered nurse with lots of experience, 40 years caring for families across Texas. My husband and I recently built our home with my son in Greens Prairie. We've been there about 6 months. We were impressed with how organized it was, and we value safety, stability, and the promise that good planning projects protects families and communities. So I'm here tonight to explain why allowing a large production builder such as D.R. Horton to develop next to custom homes is not simply an aesthetic question. It is a decision that carries serious risks to property values, safety, and even legal liability. Construction quality and defects, the last speaker had addressed that there is lots of complaints. It's the highest complaints in all the builders in the United States, and that there's many unresolved warranty issues. Placing these mass-produced homes next to custom homes creates a mismatch in quality that undermines neighborhood integrity and long-term resale. Property values and legal precedent. If you approve rezoning that knowingly permits a builder with history of construction complaints, high amount of construction complaints, you risk exposing both homeowners that are present and the city for legal challenges for failing to safeguard property values. Inspection and oversight failures. Another problem is inspection capacity. I know y'all are probably very experienced with that, but I'm concerned about that. Homes often get rushed approvals and corners are cut. Maybe that doesn't happen in College Station, but it does in other cities that we've lived in. Infrastructure strain. I know that you've also heard this. Large-scale developments bring smaller lots, higher density, more cars. Without the infrastructure in place first, the result is predictable congestion, unsafe commutes, delayed emergency response, which I'm concerned about as well, very concerned about that, and stressed utilities. I don't know if you guys were here, well, you probably were here, in Dallas when we had that bad ice storm. Fortunately, we lived near a fire department, but so many people were without power, and if that happened again in this particular circumstance, we for sure would be. So my closing appeal is this isn't just growth, it's a decision with long-term consequences, declining home values, traffic and safety risks, and potential legal liability. You cannot rely on promises of better quality when lawsuits and inspection failures show a clear pattern. So I urge you to reject this rezoning. I'm done. But anyways, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And Mr. Ken Deeb, or did she speak on behalf of both of you? Did you want to utilize your time, sir? Yes, sir. Thank you very much. We will continue on to Greg Talcott.
Greg Talcott, 4476 Greens Prairie Trail, College Station, Texas 77845. I live in the Reuter Ridge area. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I will keep this brief. You know, I had this nice thing of prepared remarks I felt pretty proud of putting together last night, but there's a pretty huge delta now from what all of us have researched online, around 1,800 homes versus the now 886 number, with an asterisk of this is all we foresee for now. Well, I think pretty much all of us could foresee that that's going to end up at more than 886. Speaking for myself, and I'll echo the first gentleman who talked about 2 to 3 light cycles to get through Arrington, that's without all of the existing development that's currently going on being completed. You're going to double that conservatively. Now, if you pile this on there, it's a whole nother story. The other thing is there's a huge difference between 4 homes on an acre and 8. I'm in real estate development. I did the Jordan Lofts downtown with Chris Lawrence, developing all of downtown Bryan with Chris Lawrence. Anytime you have that kind of density increase, it brings very unwelcome changes to the area. Crime, lower property values, which ultimately impacts the tax base. If you do end up with 8 homes per acre, that is horizontal multifamily. That's just, you're painting it as something else when you have 8 homes per acre. And to the other speaker's point, the amount of money that people have invested in their homes in this area will suffer losses with that kind of density. So I am adamantly opposed to this as somebody who works in development. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Laura Lewis.
Good evening. My name is Laura Lewis. I live at 4106 Shady Brook Pass in Creek Meadows on Greens Prairie. My reason for coming and speaking tonight is not necessarily to ask you to not change the zoning. The zoning is in compliance and in line with what is zoned throughout that area. The concern that I have is more the plan for the property. I not only live in the area and have lived there for 15 years, but I also have managed HOAs in and around that area for the last 5 years. D.R. Horton is a large volume builder. They're not necessarily the same quality builder as what is in the surrounding area. They do build nice homes. I actually managed an HOA recently that was 50% D.R. Horton. It's a beautiful starter home community. But the trouble with deed restriction violations from the building standpoint, the trouble with keeping up with their homeowner complaints about their building and their properties that weren't HOA responsibility, but were in fact the builder responsibility, were way more than what they should have been. So my concern is more from protecting the quality of what is in the surrounding areas, protecting the resale values of what's in the surrounding areas. And yes, we understand that they're requesting 896 or 800 and however many homes, but the zoning that you're considering does allow them to come back later and request a change. And that change could go up to 8 per acre under the zoning that's requested. So I think everybody has a legitimate concern about not what they're saying they're going to do now, but potentially what they could do later as they get ready to build or even after they start building, and making sure that we don't allow that to turn into something other than what it is being presented as now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Robert Todd?
Robert Todd, 16736 Wood Lake Drive, College Station, Texas, 77845. I believe that as we pay property taxes, we expect protection from our elected officials and others. We make decisions on buying homes and where we're going to live based on well-developed, thanks to this group here, well-developed plans. And so when, after that, after those have been the basis of decisions on where you're going to live, what confidence you can have in local government, I find that even the asking of this type of a rezoning is quite offensive. Everything else around there is 1 to 4 units per acre. We live down in the lower section of that map there where it says estate residential. So we're 1 per acre there, and then we have suburban around. This is in total contrast to all of that. May I ask a question of the Planning Commission? Just who is responsible for the culinary water for that development? Is it City of College Station Utilities, or is it Wellborn Special Utility District?
It is a City College Station.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That does clarify that. But the potential for that totally changing the nature of what we have in the midst of all the surrounding areas, as well as the extreme traffic. We have a lake down where we live. We've watched over the years as with increased development, there is increased runoff to include the nutrient-rich runoff that affects it. And this will have another great impact on that. So to take it above what is currently planned exacerbates all those problems, both of traffic along there, the safety along it, as well as the environmental concerns. I would ask the Planning Commission to take that into account as you consider this request. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. That is the last person that has signed up to speak. This is scheduled for a public hearing, and we want to allow all of those that would like to speak the opportunity to step forward. However, I will ask if it is going to be along the same lines of those that have signed up. Just keep that in mind that we can, I think we're getting a broad understanding of what the large majority of this group is saying, but we do still open up the floor for anyone to step forward. Yes, sir.
Before we move forward, can I address the audience?
Yes, sir.
Particularly on one of the things we were mentioned. I just want to point out that we are not your elected representatives. We are appointed by the City Council. As such, we have limited scope on what we can consider. I have in front of me the list of things that we have to consider for rezoning. They are limited to 5 things that we can consider for rezoning. Whether the proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and I would remind you that the current comprehensive plan, the future land use plan for this is not rural. That section is currently not in compliance with the future land use plan. Second, whether the use permitted by the proposed zoning district will be appropriate within the context of the surrounding areas, which is certainly something we're willing to consider tonight. Whether the property to be rezoned is physically suitable for the proposed zoning district, whether there's available water, wastewater, stormwater, and transportation facilities generally suitable and adequate for the use permitted by the proposed zoning, and the marketability of the property being the subject property to be rezoned. Among the things we are not allowed to consider is the developer that's going to develop it. As much as we might appreciate your concerns, we can't actually factor that into our consideration of whether or not to approve a zoning request. Is that fair? Okay, thank you.
Please step forward, and if you can state your name clearly and your address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less.
Thank you. My name's Jeff Coppernall. I live at 16564 Wood Lake Drive in rural College Station. My wife Sue and I moved to College Station in 2003, and we searched for 2 years before we found our home in the Wood Lake subdivision. We bought our home there after searching the entire county in both Bryan and College Station cities. The large 1 to 7 acre lots in ours and other areas, Sweetwater, Indian Lakes, the other areas around us provide us with and the surrounding ranch land provide us with a really quality and quiet, peaceful life. When we worked with our wonderful Realtor, it was pointed out that the surrounding ranch land was privately owned and protected us from urban sprawl. We knew that was great, but also realized that things change with the growth in the area. It's our belief that the proposed change in zoning for this 237 acres would adversely affect the overall quality of life for us and others in the area. With the possibility of up to 1,800 residents, the possibility comes a reality of 3,600 automobiles. That's a lot of additional automobiles when you figure that most homes, residents have at least 2 automobiles. That's a lot of people coming and going on the street that's already experiencing tremendous backup. If you've been in the area when they're dropping off or picking up children at Forest Ridge Elementary School, it's getting dangerous. Hopefully, there's nothing serious that happens. We feel like my research, rudimentary, showed there's 26,000 apartments in College Station. And with this type of development, the possibility that there's multiple facilities with more than residential one-family units is quite possible. And we feel that it's not consistent, like was mentioned, that this development is not consistent with the other developments in the area. And we would ask that you deny it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, I want to make sure that it is clearly known that this is a public hearing and you do have the right to come and step forward, but then I do ask again if it is going to be along the same lines that we have already heard. Understand that the commission is taking those thoughts very seriously, and if there's just someone that has something different to say, we would ask you to step forward. But again, I want to make sure everyone knows that they can step forward should they choose to do so. Yes, sir. And again, please state your name clearly and address, and please limit your remarks to 3 minutes or less.
My name is Randy Decker, and I live at 2605 Goodrich Court in College Station. That's in Castlegate 2. And I just have heard everything, and I absolutely agree, but I have a question for the guy with the list of 5. Our drainage, rainwater, et cetera, comes down through that area. Is somebody responsible for making sure that this new development doesn't start backing our drainage up? And I hope somebody is responsible for that, and that's one of the things you can consider in making your recommendations. But
I appreciate the concern. That's absolutely a consideration. Would you like to address that? Thank you.
Jillian Sittler, Plan Development Services. I was the review engineer in plan development that helped review this. So as a part of the rezoning request, we don't take a particular look at the specific storm sewer mitigation measures that need to occur. That will be definitely looked at through the platting process if this tract ever comes into developed. There are some, there's not FEMA regulated floodplain on the tract, but there are FEMA tributaries on the tract that the developer would be required to submit flood studies for, delineate those floodplains, and then, of course, appropriately accommodate for and absolutely abide by state legislature, which is that no increased flow off to adjacent properties is allowed.
So my understanding of that then is regardless of how this gets rezoned, if it doesn't meet a flood plan and a water use plan, any future platting won't be approved until they
Correct,
can
yes,
meet
sir.
that, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
So those two things are not necessarily related. It's the developer's responsibility to understand what their requirements are going to be as far as wastewater management and water treatment and water movement and flood mitigation. And if they can't meet that, that's their burden, not ours, right?
Correct, yes, sir.
We're not going to allow them to put something there that wouldn't meet that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Regardless of what it's zoned.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Thank
this
you.
is just step 1 in a process, and if it were to move forward, it'd be going to more intense step 2s, 3s, 4s.
Right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I think I saw one. Did I see one other hand on this side? And just as always, state your name clearly, address, and keep your remarks to 3 minutes, please.
Yes, sir. My name's Austin Pittman. I live at 2333 Storyteller Court. I also had a statement that echoed quite a few things that everybody else has said. I will spare everybody that, hearing it again. My question for you with the consistency, is there a criteria or a further divulging of what criteria must be met to be consistent with surrounding communities? As you've heard and can see, the Greens Prairie Reserve communities, Indian Lakes, Castlegate, all of these homes are at $500,000-600,000 minimum, up to multi-million-dollar homes. I just don't see how that could be anywhere consistent with what D.R. Horton is looking to build. Similar settlements in College Station built by D.R. Horton, including Wellborn Settlement, which is just down the road down the Greens Prairie, averages $500,000 to $600,000 homes. And again, they're very tight homes. These are homes where if you drive down the neighborhood, you can see that they're tightly packed. They may not be townhomes, but they are packed in there as densely as they can be. And so, as you've stated, with the 886 homes is what they're recommending, I also question the motive behind that. How accurate is that? Who will hold them accountable to that? Is another major concern. The other thing I would like to bring up is that one of you asked if they market directly to students. The representatives seemed to allude a little bit to that and said we do not directly market to them. For me, that loses a little bit of credibility. We're in College Station. College Station has A&M campus, and anybody who says that they don't have students on their mind, to me, it loses credibility. With the expensiveness of college tuition and housing in College Station, it would be naive to think that there would not be a large student population for these entry-level homes to share in a roommate situation. Finally, when it comes to the traffic, I would also like to point out, as someone did earlier, that this proposed rezoning connects directly to Greens Prairie Reserve. I wonder why that has to be that way. I was told by one of the representatives that it's city mandated. So I would just like to personally say that if there is a way to not connect the two, that would also, limit on the traffic as well. Many of these people have said that the Greens Prairie Reserve traffic is high and congestion is bad. And if these two communities are connected, it will undoubtedly raise the traffic through our community. And as one lady said, it's already a highway speed zone. And so when you add 800 additional homes and all those automobiles trying to get to work, speeding through the neighborhood to take a shortcut, everybody. That's all. Thank you.
Austin, before you step down, I just want to make sure I've understood your concerns. And your concern is that putting suburban residential abutting estate residential and the amount of homes per acre you would consider not to be consistent with surrounding uses.
Correct. Okay. Again, it says that there can be 1 to 8 acres per home.
Homes per acre.
1 to 8 homes per acre in almost every neighborhood surrounding that area. It is not up to 8 homes. These are quarter acre at minimum lots. Many lots in Greens Prairie Reserve where I live are half acre and 1 acre lots. And I can't speak for the other neighborhoods, but I've driven through Castlegate, and it's a very different setup than what these condensed communities are.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Can I call you take a seat? Thank you. Can I call one of our?
Well, hold on just 1 second. Is there anyone else that would like to step forward? Okay.
Can I address that specific? This is to address that specific concern. Mrs. Blasingame? Yes, if I understand correctly, estate residential is what borders this to its west. Is estate residential on the left side of this map we're looking at?
Like southeast?
Yeah.
Southwest, yes.
Southwest. And as per our previous conversation, the maximum amount of homes per acre in estate residential is what? 1 per acre? Is that what we just?
Estate residential, that's the future land use.
Can we go forward to the
Yes,
to the
sir.
zoning?
It currently does not have a zoning being in the extraterritorial jurisdiction.
But in the future land use, if that gets zoned to state residential, which is the future land use, which is one of the things we're trying to consider is being consistent with the future land use in the UDO. If that is brought into line with the UDO, it will be estate residential, in which case the maximum homes per acre on estate residential is what?
I'd have to verify.
1 per acre?
1 per acre.
And under general suburban, it is up to 8 per acre?
Yes, but that is based on much more of a mathematical equation based off how listed lot sizes and essentially just, if we had a perfect square acre, we would say it's a max of 8. dwelling units per acre. However, nothing is ever perfectly straight, but it also doesn't consider the fact of the infrastructure required with drainage areas, open spaces, roads, and the buffers between the roads and the residential properties, and the residential roads themselves that will be required as well. So it's very hard to reach that 8 number because of all the other development requirements.
But it would be permitted
If
under general suburban.
Under general suburban with the residential dimensional standards required, that is the number of max dwelling units allowed. It's the cap.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Hannah Lopez. I live in 1201 Brunswick Court, which is in, not in this area, but in the nearing area near it. I'm more concerned about, and I have questions for not only the developer, for the council as well, is schooling. So when these homes go into, for these single families, what is the high schools and surrounding schools going to look like? Because A&M Consolidated and College Station High School are almost at their capacity. I know we're building on it, but is it something in the future that they've thought about considering making another high school, or what does that entail for the city of College Station?
While we do have someone that was on the school board before, the zoning is going to be outside of our purview. As far as what the school district will do when it comes to that, we wouldn't, and the city would not have any say in how the school district decides what they want to do with that.
Thank you.
And I thought I saw, okay.
Hi, my name is Jonah Williams. I'm at the Element at University, 4475 Carter Creek Parkway, Bryan, Texas, 77802. I heard all the concerns, and I agree with the rezoning. Also, just for reference, I'm a student at Texas A&M. I'm in the Masters of Urban Planning program. And so as far as I'm concerned, this rezoning would allow, or the TIA would allow 886 units, which would end up being about 3.7 units per acre. But the concern that I hear is that there's a potential for expansion. Would there be a possibility that with the rezoning we could place an exception or a clause that would maybe bar that from expanding in the future? And then my second question was, with the layout and how this new plot of land is built, would there be the possibility that the way that it's laid out would prevent future expansion? Those were my two questions.
Thank you very much, and we'll do our best to address those.
As for the possibly putting on a cap or restricting in some way, I'm actually going to point to our legal team and staff advisors over here if that's even a possibility for tonight.
So if the commission decides that there is a condition that relates to public safety, health, general welfare, you can place that kind of condition for the recommendation of approval.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, would you please recommend, it says your second question again, I apologize.
Yes, the layout of the site, after it's been developed, could it be laid out in such a way that expansion and putting more units on the property would not be possible?
To my knowledge, that was not something we can really truly consider with the rezoning.
It would be
because
later
it's
in the
just
plating.
Yes, sir. Then if during the preliminary plan phase and plating phase, that's much more we kind of, Jillian mentioned wonderfully, is where we're getting much more into the detail of it. As for restricting further growth, I don't know if we're legally allowed to do that as well. Again, point to our wonderful staff over here if we can actually legally require that.
So what the city can require is based on what the comprehensive plan shows and what we zone properties. So the comprehensive plan is the city's 20-year plan that the community works together on to create. This particular area has been that way since 2015, 2014, when it was designated as restricted suburban and then suburban residential, which allows for GS or RS. When the city looks at it, we're looking strictly at zoning. So you're trying to plan lot size, densities, et cetera. We can't legally look at who a end user is, as was mentioned previously. We're looking at how do you plan out the subdivision of land within the community. And so from the standpoint of staff and what our charge is with the zoning request, that's how we view it. So again, this whole area is designated as being suburban residential on the comp plan. We plan our master plans, all of our utilities, our thoroughfare plans, all of that is planned around that presumption. And so as things come in, the assumption is that it would zone in line with that. And that is in line with our current UDO standards. Like Becca mentioned earlier, 8 units per acre is literally just a number by taking 40,000 divided by 5. Because that 5,000 square feet is the minimum lot size in a GS zoning district, which is no different than Castlegate 2. I live there myself. My lot is not 5,000 square feet, right? So you have that ability, it's just not what's built. And so the numbers that we get to in that max per acre is literally just creating, it's a divider. It's not anything more than a theoretical mathematical digit. How we go through the rest of this and how this lays out is based on those assumptions, and we can't limit anything outside of that. Very long-winded answer to your question, but in short, no, we have requirements throughout the UDO that how we regulate, and it's a high-level regulation, not down to end users and people.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Is there anyone else that wish to step forward? Yes, sir. Please state your name and keep your comments limited to 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Jerry Ransom. I live at 4074 Whippoorwill Drive in College Station, and that's in Sweetwater subdivision. As a matter of fact, my property is directly adjacent to the ranch that's currently there. I won't keep you. I just wanted to address the one comment that I think you asked, something about the restriction on the required number of housing. Why couldn't you rezone this, since you're in the process of rezoning, to RS restricted suburban concept? That would bind this to the 4, if I'm not mistaken, 4 units per acre. And
I'm happy to address that, sir.
Yeah.
So the reason that we're currently rezoning to general suburban is at the request of the applicant. They came in wanting to request it to general suburban, and so, again, that aligns with the comprehensive plan, and we're officiating the process of moving that forward because, again, it aligns with the plan.
So would an RS, if someone had requested it, would that also comply with the future land use?
Yes, sir, that's the other future, zoning district that does comply with the future land use of suburban residential. It's suburban residential and general suburban, those are the only 2 zoning districts. If you're in Wellborn area, that might be different, but really for this area, the only allowed zoning districts that comply are restricted suburban and general suburban.
Which would you say, in your opinion, would be better to abut a state residential, GS or RS?
As a neutral party, I to be honest, I don't know if I can essentially address that. It does, the requested zoning district does agree with the neighboring general suburban 2, kind of directly to the west. To the north with the planned development district, that is also have a base zoning of general suburban. So this still does comply and match a lot of the surrounding areas as well. So essentially,
generally appropriate. If you were going to pick one of the 2, which would you say would be generally more appropriate to abut the estate? Because the future land use for the property to the southwest is the future land use is estate residential, and that's a 1 per acre. Would you say 4 per acre or 8 per acre would be a better adjoining property? I know that's not what's being requested.
That's not a really fair question for staff.
Okay.
But yeah, so the comp plan is what the city staff looks at and what the community has said, and so both are applicable. They're both appropriate. Again, the estate residential is in the ETJ, so they aren't represented by the comprehensive plan directly, as they don't represent the council. They don't vote for the council. They don't vote for how that's adopted. So they would have to be annexed into the community and then go through a process there where they would start paying property taxes to the city, College Station, et cetera, and then they would look at zoning and things like that. At this time, again, the city's looking at how do we develop the infrastructure within. Again, rural estate out in the ETJ is a minimum of 1 acre no matter what, because that's what the county requires. That's what your septic system requires. There's a lot of regulations that go into why that size is that. Again, per the comprehensive plan that's been adopted by the community, this is directly in compliance with it. So it would be purely something not meeting the adjacent. I think we do have high-density residential zonings that's been mentioned, things like middle housing, things like townhouse. That is high-density residential development. Those are 12 units an acre, 16 units an acre, multifamily products, things like that. These are our two lowest densities of single-family detached housing, bar none.
Quick follow-up to something you said, Becca. So Castlegate 2 is currently general suburban, and the planned district development, I guess that would be to the east?
I'm looking more directly north, not
Is that north? Oh, sorry, I'm looking down. So that's north. So that planned that PDD, their base zoning to start their PDD was also general suburban.
Yes, that Castlegate 1 area is also, it was.
So Castlegate
essentially
1
But yes, now it's general suburban, yes, sir.
So everything to the north.
Essentially north, if you go more northeast with the Greens Prairie Reserve area, that has a base zoning of restricted suburban with some modifications because of the PDD. But yes, more northwest area, that is general suburban, yes, sir.
Thank you.
I will just add to the GPR rezoning, that PDD actually, what's in there and why it's a PDD is that it goes lower than restricted suburban allows. So the minimum for those lots allowed over there is 4,500 square feet. Again, GS minimum is 5,000 square feet. The rest of that area is actually a townhouse development in GPR that was done with that PDD rezoning.
Thank you. Did you have any other questions or
Yes,
comments,
I
sir?
did. Well, I just wanted to comment. You asked the question of what she would prefer. What we would prefer, of course, is the estate. However, I'm pointing out that in order to address the issue of building more than what's been promised, I don't see why. I don't see anything keeping you folks from rezoning it RS restricted. And what's being proposed is definitely not, what's being proposed to build there is definitely not compatible with everything on that side of Greens Prairie Road, starting with at Arrington all the way past Wood Lake into that area. So, I acknowledge Castlegate 2 is, across the road. But it's definitely not, what's being proposed is definitely not compatible with the surrounding area. That's it. Thank you very much.
And just so for the commission, based on what the applicant is requesting, we don't have the ability to change their zoning request to, as this gentleman just said, to RS, do we not?
So similar to the previous question about the capping, you technically do because it's considered a lesser district.
Okay.
However, you would have to point that it is a public health, safety, and welfare condition.
Yes, sir.
It has to be a health and safety related issue.
Gotcha. Thank you. Again, as this is a public hearing, I want to allow anyone that would like to step forward the ability to, but again, unless there is something sharply different than what we have heard, I would like for y'all to understand that the commission is understanding of what your concerns are, and I would request that it would be someone that has something different to say. We do appreciate everyone that has stepped forward and want to make sure that if you would like to speak, you can. If no one else, yes, sir.
Hello, I am Ken Welch at 3600 Triple Bend, College Station, Texas. I'm southwest of the current development. We moved out there 20 years ago. There is a little creek that was kind of the runoff that ultimately leads into Wood Lake. And over those 15 years, the little 1-foot section that I could just drive over to mow the back little section of my property, I cannot do that now because of the amount of runoff that has occurred. Before that, Meadow Creek development that went in a little further downstream, and all of Castlegate has come in since I've been out there, and that has increased the runoff through that little section because everything from that green section goes this way. So the higher density in there, as we know, less grass, other things. I don't care what drainage system you put in or what other retention ponds you get, it has increased the runoff on my property and has continued to erode part of that section. So this is only going to worsen that aspect. So I do have a personal aspect of that, concern about it. The second thing would be just because we can do it doesn't mean we should do it. Okay, even though it may meet the criteria, what is the best thing to do that fits along with the density in there to meet the other places? And although not in the College Station system, it would be nice if for once the College Station city would take into consideration those neighbors around them to be good neighbors and not just using their muscle in order to create higher density development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to step forward? Again, the commission thanks everyone, and we appreciate your opinions. With that, I will close the public hearing. I know the applicant asked if he could speak after the public hearing. Are there things that you would still like to say, sir?
Yes, we understand the concerns from the adjacent property owners, and I think that the whole process that we have to go through to develop this property will have the opportunity to address that. Tonight, we're obviously, as you all have noted, just considering a land use. If this gets approved, we will have to come back before you again to get our preliminary plan approved, where we'll have a much more detailed review of the drainage and the traffic and road layouts, lot layouts, all of those things, and the density will be shown at that time. There will be another opportunity for everybody to look at that. And we will have had a chance, once this is approved, to do a much more detailed review of that to put everybody's concerns at ease. One of the things I wanted everybody to know is, I know everybody's been talking about the adjacent properties are about, with the exception of the estate lots to the south, everything else is at 4 units an acre. Right now, with our 886 homes, we're at 3.74 units an acre. So we're actually lower than what some of those adjacent properties are. Our requested zoning lines up with the future land use plan, which has been in place since this property has been designated as suburban since for about 10 years and was reaffirmed as the zoning we're requesting back in 2021. We're also proposing with the traffic, we're going to follow the major thoroughfare plan and be building those future thoroughfares, which is going to be a benefit to the city. That will also help ease some of that traffic once with those connections, that not as much traffic will be onto Greens Prairie Road. I think that's, with that, we'd like to just request the approval of our zoning.
Are there any other questions for the applicant?
For staff, if we approve this rezoning.
Is this for the applicant or for the staff?
It's sort of both.
Okay.
Staff predominantly. One of the things that was brought up is the approval of the preliminary plan. I know some of that, some of our oversight of that has changed. Do we actually get to look at a preliminary plan and approve one of those if this is rezoned and that's brought before the staff? Or is that approved at the staff level?
It is approved at the staff level if everything is in direct compliance. So if there is some sort of variation or certain, what's the word? There's discretionary items, thank you. Discretionary items if something like lots fronting a thoroughfare, things like that. But it could be if there's a waiver, then it does come before the commission.
So it's not exactly accurate that we will have to approve a preliminary plan. So long as it's in compliance, we don't get the chance to review that a second time, right?
Correct, but you did get a chance as a commission, maybe not you specifically, but this commission got a chance to review the ordinance that all those have to comply by.
Apologize, I misunderstood what the rule was on that. So, go.
Any other questions for the applicant? I do have a couple of clarification questions for staff. Mr. Schubert, did we, and I know as there's been a huge concern about traffic, in the area and the TIA that was presented. Greens Perry and Arrington, we already know that's a large interchange. How much did that TIA include what would happen at that interchange?
It did not go that far. As far as the furthest east that it went was to Castlegate Drive. Okay. So yes, it did not include that intersection. It is known the Brazos County has, with their 2022 bond, have a project to actually work on the Fitch-Arrington intersection that TxDOT's working on. I've seen some of those preliminary concepts. So there is a project that is funded to actually work on Fitch and Arrington between Highway 6 in this area.
And then I guess this would be for the rest of staff, and we've heard the concerns about the 886 homes. And I know we've kind of gone over this with it would be in the platting process, but besides the TIA and any other additional platting process, what other safeguards do we have in terms of moving this forward with the applicant to make sure that it doesn't, as there are concerns of this coming back and them deciding to make this a larger development than what they're saying tonight?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing here is there's parkland dedication is one, but the biggest would actually be drainage. So in the drainage design guidelines in our ordinance, which does not have any variation available to it, anything that is a floodplain or designated 100-year water service elevation, which is the same difference as a floodplain for those who don't know the difference, it is considered the same. And so it has to be protected. It can't be used. It can't be utilized as area. This area has several creeks that go through it in a large area that would be designated to that. And so that alone takes a large chunk of acreage out of this 200-something acres away off the bat. So even in the way that the calculation for that 8 number is, it's a gross. So you take out, it's taking the boundary you see here, you can't have more within this boundary than 8 per acre allowed per that. So there's road constructions, there's thoroughfares, there's a minor arterial, so a large right-of-way over 100 feet that goes through here, that's a large area, all the residential streets, et cetera, all that is part of that calculation, and so obviously that's land not utilized towards homes and lots.
And I know I'm not trying to put anyone on the spot with this question, but do we have an estimate of what that amount of land would be to take out of this 200 acres?
Of the right-of-way?
Yeah, right-of-way, parkland dedication, and all of those things. Because again, we know the concerns of the public here. Yeah. They're going off of 200 acres times a possible 8.
Again, we haven't seen a development plan, but I would say, generally speaking, across developments and something this size, you're probably talking in the 20 to 30% range is essentially immediately knocked off the table.
Okay.
As area that's just thrown away is not the right word, but it's used towards right-of-ways and open spaces and parkland and things like that. And so you've got a pretty good chunk that's already, it's off the table for development, but it is included in that 8 per acre calculation. So it does limit that ability there.
So that would, as the applicant is saying, but again, addressing some of the concerns of the public here, that's going to lower what they would be able to do anyway, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So yeah, just like when you look at Castlegate 2 across the way, right, they've got some open spaces, some roadways. That whole development is right at 4 units an acre on average for it. And then you've got some denser areas that you consider denser, such as Southern Point and Midtown, for instance, are commonly used in other developments. Both of those are right in that 4.5 to 5 acres, or 5 units per acre as well. So those, if you've ever been to Midtown, that is a very, very dense development. It's only 5 units an acre.
And one more thing, and for clarification, and I know Commissioner Collins brought this up, but I want to make sure with your help that we are clear as a commission, knowing that zoning requests do not reflect the applicant and who the applicant is in terms of what we can address with this rezoning request, correct?
Correct. It is a pure land use determination.
Any other questions for staff or for the applicant?
There's 2 chunks here that are not in this.
Yes,
What are
sir.
those proposed in the comprehensive plan to be used for?
Comprehensive plan-wise, they're the same, they are suburban residential. However, I do believe the perfect square-ish one, more on the edge of the ETJ, that is for the new fire station that is to be created. As for the larger cutout, more northeast, I can let the applicant speak to that.
That land, we actually do not have that land under contract, so we don't have any control over that.
So your zoning request is only for what's actually in the green
Correct.
cutout? And so that square at I guess the far northeast, Becca, that's city property? The square, like?
That's fire station
Yes,
setting.
that's the
Okay,
fire
that's the
station,
station,
yes,
okay.
sir. Yes, the perfect
Yes.
square is the fire station,
Yes.
yes, sir.
Becca, one other quick question.
Yes, sir.
The property, I guess, northwest or whatever, those houses are 4 to an acre right now?
You mean Castlegate 1 and 2 area? Castlegate 2, I can actually have that ratio for you, sir. Castlegate 2 is approximately very similar to Midtown and Southern Point areas where it's ranging from 4.2 to 5 dwelling units per acre.
So down Tony Bridge, those houses there are basically 4 to 5, or up Hoare Drive, whatever, because those are small houses covering a large.
Did you say Tony Bridge? Did I hear that correctly,
Yes.
sir?
Yeah, that backs directly up onto Greens Prairie.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to identify the
You go-
street.
Go to your other map, it showed the road, actually.
Yes, that is correct. It would be in Castlegate, so it would be the 4 per acre.
It's in that area that meets a similar ratio of 4.2 per acre, yes, sir.
Then my other question was, the question came up again that we hear constantly in rezoning, was the notification process.
Yes, sir.
Everybody along that Greens Prairie Road section were notified or not?
We are legally required to essentially take a 200-foot buffer from the actual property line of the rezoning. So this green line is a great image to land on. Take 200 feet, create a radius around that edge, and that is our legal requirement to where we advertise to. We also did advertise to HOAs.
So that's to the edge of the green line is what you notified, not, 200
feet from the edge of the green line.
so is that area there in that 200 feet?
I would have to be completely honest, I'd take a measurement. It possibly very much looks like that, but I'd have to take a measurement to officially confirm if that is in that area.
Yeah. Letters were sent out on September 2nd, and they were sent to surrounding HOAs, so Castlegate 1, 2, and Regal Oaks Drive, if they have an HOA, and then certainly GPR as well, were all sent to their HOA. Anyone within the 200-foot boundary, so that's going to be that cul-de-sac essentially. The 2 cul-de-sacs on the bottom of GPR would have been within that 200-foot, or some of them, they would have gotten a letter, as well as those kind of near Tombridge Drive or Norwalk. Again, 200 feet from the boundary is where that would land. And if it touches the property, period, we send a letter.
Were there signs placed on Greens Prairie?
Yes,
There
sir.
was a sign placed on Greens Prairie as well.
I believe, to answer a very understandable question, I believe right across from, I want to say, a line and Greens Prairie, that intersection area. What was the street? Amberley, thank you.
Amberley and Greens Prairie?
Yes, sir.
I address the question. This is either to staff or the applicant, whoever can answer the question. Given what the applicant has stated, the 800 and some odd homes for these over 200 acres, the RS designation would accommodate that, would it not? Because that 4 per acre, that would allow them to do that. Why were they requesting GS as opposed to RS if they could accomplish it with the RS designation? And that's whichever.
That, I would love to let the applicant
defer?
address
Okay.
that, yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So why are you requesting GS if RS would accomplish the same thing for you?
The future land use plan indicates GS, and that is also consistent with the adjacent zoning for the other areas in the city limits of College Station. And so we chose to go with what the future land use plan showed.
But RS is also accounted for in the future land use, is it not?
But I guess we went with this GS.
Do you think that that might allay some of the concerns that the people have here today if you'd gone for something that restricts you to 4 per acre as opposed to 8? Would it inhibit your ability to still utilize this property to your intended use if you were limited to 4 per acre?
I would say that kind of on the spot on that, because we've moved forward with this on the GS submittal. I'm not familiar enough with all the other codes and regulations that go with that, so I can't stand up here and answer that appropriately.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I will open this up for discussion. If there is no discussion, then I will move to the will of our commission. Trey, anything? Okay, Mr. Luca?
Yeah, my concern is, as you mentioned, approximately 30% of this property will not be usable because the floodplain and ponds and drainage, as it was brought up. So you take that out of the 287, how does that affect the actual development as far as, can they still go in there with 886 in that property as approved, even though 30% of it is non-usable?
Correct. That's what the calculation is based on. But that's where the difference between the two zoning districts is going to be lot sizes. So the minimum lot size for GS is 5,000. The minimum lot size for restricted suburban is 6,500, and then with an average lot size of 8.5 or 10, depending on what you're doing. But that rule is synonymous across every single type of development in the city of College Station. Every single neighborhood that all of us live in have had 30% of your land, roughly speaking, used for some other purpose as part of your community, and it's still the same calculation.
I think the answer to his question is the minimum lot size would be the difference in those two zonings. So you'd go from 5,000 to 6,500, so you'd be restricted in the land that was left after all those dedications. Every lot would have to be a minimum of 6,500 with a higher designation. Is that what you're getting at?
Correct. It will also allow for potentially less flexibility in lot sizes. So if your minimum is a certain number, right, that you've got to play around with cul-de-sacs or streets or blocks, things like that. When we see things come across the table for development, it just limits the flexibility there on housing.
Down this direction?
But it is something we could recommend, a larger lot size.
You could recommend a different zoning district.
Yeah, that's what
Or
the
you could
question is.
recommend as
Or
previously
recommend
mentioned,
denial.
was the cap, if you can point that is a public safety, health, and welfare issue.
I will entertain any motions for consideration. Actually, before we do that, for the applicant, if I can ask you one more question, sorry, just popped them into my head. If this commission decided to go with the different recommendation for the zoning district, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but if that change were to happen, what would that do to towards your timeline for development?
I really don't know to stand up here and be able to say that
And that's
without
understandable. I know
investigating it
that's
further.
a question to put you on the spot, but again, and they would have to, this would still go forward to the council, and if council made a decision to deny it or to change based on a recommendation that we gave them, that if it just went to RS, that's just what they would have to go for. But if we denied it, then they'd have the 180-day. If we denied it and council denied it, then they'd have that 180-day waiting period to represent again, correct?
Correct. The slight difference. So anything that you guys do is just a strict recommendation.
Yes.
So even if you change the zoning, if you capped it, whatever, if you recommend a denial, the recommendation that goes forward to council will be the exact same that you heard at the beginning of the evening. And then we will also relay to council what the recommendation was from the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well if it is different from the staff recommendation, a member of you would be there as well to represent that.
Okay.
Before we have a motion, normally you go down the line and ask if we have any comments.
Well, that's what
I'm sorry.
I did.
Yeah. So
I went on.
I can understand the concerns on both sides, and I am the last person to want to limit someone's right to use their property. We do need affordable housing, we need more housing, and we're landlocked. In this particular request, I think that RS would be a more suitable land use. I believe also that it would not inhibit their ability to develop the property in the way in which they're telling us they intend to. So I think at this point, I would be inclined to vote against this particular rezoning. I would not vote against rural suburban, or the restricted suburban designation. I just think, given the future land use of the abutting property to the southwest is going to be inconsistent with 8 houses per lot, given that it's a state and it's 1 per lot. I think rural suburban would be a better step down between that and its adjoining properties. I do want to just make everyone aware that we cannot move in the negative. So if we want to vote against this particular rezoning request, we have to move for approval and have a second for it even to go to a vote. So for us to vote, someone has to move for approval and we have to have a second. Otherwise, it doesn't even go to a vote. So we can't make a recommendation to council. Is that accurate? We can't make a motion in the negative. We can't make a motion to deny. So just full disclosure.
We would like to not make a motion in the negative, to clarify for would anyone else like to?
As such, I will move to approve.
Anybody else? Okay, continue.
Yeah, excuse me, I'm now confused. So what are we voting on right here?
So my motion, not my vote, my motion is to approve the rezoning request.
Well, and let me make just, and we do have the motion, and we'll come back to the second just in a moment. We could also make a motion to approve restricted suburban, correct? To recommend restricted suburban.
Correct. You'd have to identify the public safety, health, and welfare issue as well.
Okay. Did that answer your question?
Indeed.
So we have a motion on the floor to approve. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the zoning change to general suburban. Does everybody understand that? I want to make sure that we
Voting, the motion is to approve the request
Okay.
to rezone, yes.
So the motion is to approve as it was presented
Yes.
by the builder. Okay.
All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed?
No.
So that motion has been denied. Mr. Watson. In the mic, please, so that everybody can hear.
So I will be able to make the motion to recommend for RS? Or is that done?
What's that?
Okay, just kidding.
It's over.
So that agenda item has been denied. We appreciate everyone stepping forward. We know that this was, again, a very passionate opportunity for everyone to speak, and so we thank you for that. Mr. Armstrong, what date will that be at council?
It'll be at the October 9th.
Hopefully I will not be sick this time.
Council's is the final word, not ours. Ours is only a recommendation.
As we continue on, in the interest of time, I know people are clearing out, but I will continue to read the agenda items. Items 5.3 through 5.12 are changes to the Article 4.2 official zoning map of the Code of Ordinances regarding the repeal of ROOs, restricted occupancy overlays, and HOOs, high occupancy overlays, in accordance with Thank you very much.
I want to give him a minute.
Yep.
By the way, good job. Very well handled. You did a good job.
I will start over. Items 5.3 through 5.12 are changes to the Articles 4.2 official zoning map of Code of Ordinances regarding the repeal of ROOs, restricted occupancy overlays, and HOOs, high occupancy overlays, in accordance with required actions following the passage of Senate Bill 1567. All of these will be heard at once, and then we will have to vote on them separately. But let me make sure I get there. Ms. Wade.
Good evening, Commissioners. Heather Wade, Principal Planner with Planning and Development Services. As you just heard, items 5.3 to 5.12 are for the repeal of all restricted occupancy overlays and high occupancy overlays in response to Senate Bill 1567. Just as a reminder, UDO amendments addressing the definition of family and the removal of all language related to roos and whos from the UDO were presented to you 2 weeks ago, and those amendments were approved by City Council last week. So tonight's rezoning request covers all previously approved roos and whos. This includes 7 restricted occupancy overlays and 25 high occupancy overlays. You can see those on the map here and their associated ordinance numbers that we are repealing tonight. Just to be clear, the rezoning tonight does not change the base zoning district for any of these areas. It only removes the occupancy overlay. With that, staff recommends approval of this request in order to comply with Senate Bill 1567. This request will go to City Council on September 25th, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? And again, this, just to be clear for everybody, this is just getting back in compliance with what the new state ordinance is, correct?
Yes, sir.
This is scheduled for a public hearing. We are opening the public hearing for items 5.3 through 5.12. The secretary has informed us that no one has asked to step forward to speak. This is now the time for anyone that wishes to come forward and speak on all of these items, should you choose. Yes, sir. If you can clearly state your name and address for the record.
My name is, excuse me, Gordon Evans. I live at 2111 Langford Street in College Station. And I have several points to make. Number one, I guess, sort of the heading of this is, it's the law. So the question is, what's the impact and what do we do, if anything, about it? And so I want to make some points to the commission here. State occupancy law allows up to 3 persons per bedroom. So a typical 3 to 4 bedroom house in a single family neighborhood could have as many as 9 to 12 occupants who do not necessarily have to be related, so they could very easily be college students or other unrelated individuals. Now, while some might opt for bicycles or scooters or personal mobility devices to get to and from, very likely they could all own their own motor vehicles. So if we're talking about 9 to 12, let's just say college students are the ones who took this to the legislature. 9 to 12 college students per house in one of these neighborhoods, we're talking about 9 to 12 automobiles. City code for single-family residential says there must be 1 parking space per bedroom, a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 4 spaces. That, of course, prevents single-family homes from being turned into parking lots. So what that leaves then is with, assume 4 spaces, 4 cars in the driveway, that leaves as many as 5 to 8 cars per house that have to utilize street parking. All right? Next point. College Station has adopted the International Fire Code. International Fire Code with modifications. The code says that a fire apparatus access road, which basically says a fire truck has to be able to get to you, or an ambulance has to be able to get to you, must have 20 feet of unobstructed clearance maintained. So obstructions definition includes parked vehicles. All right, my street, Langford Street, is 27 feet, 0 inches wide, curb to curb. A typical sedan, such as a Honda Accord, including the left protruding mirror, we don't count the right one because it's over the curb, is 8 feet wide. A full-size pickup truck typically is 8 feet 11 inches wide. Next, the Texas Driver Handbook allows a vehicle to be legally parked if it is between 6 and 18 inches from the curb. So a legally parked car or truck on my street leaves only 19 or 18 feet of clearance, which is 1 to 2 feet less which the city has adopted allows. In other words, even on my street that is 27 feet wide, there actually should be no street parking allowed. It should be a 0 street parking street. Now, that'll inconvenience residents who have our homes there and would like the flexibility to park in the street, but it would prevent congestion. So and this is a public safety issue. I live at the end of a cul-de-sac, and I have to get a fire truck to my house or an ambulance to my house if there's an emergency. And if the city stands by its own code, it must comply with that, which would, so what my recommendation would be is that we reevaluate all the street widths in all of the single-family residential neighborhoods in the city, and anything that doesn't meet the 20-foot requirement should not allow street parking at all. And if they want two-sided parking, then you're going to have a 20-foot center stretch, which means it's going to have to be a pretty darn wide street. And that's a safety issue, and it's tied to state and local code and international fire code. And so, just some final comments. Is that the new law really foolishly suggests that this will improve housing affordability. Of course it won't, because on the contrary, all the landlords will do is just increase the rents according to what the market will bear. And so what that will also tend to do is have an inflationary effect on housing, because now these houses will be out of the reach of families that should be able to live and affordably live in those houses, and instead they'll be renting for very large amounts, where out-of-town landlords will buy those homes and max out the number of people that can go in those houses. If anyone, and we love college students, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. And we have many good college student neighbors, and they've been good. However, college students' lifestyle is very different than a family's lifestyle. Because there are 4 parking spaces in the driveway doesn't mean they can use them. Because if you're parked by the garage and you need to get out to go to class, then you're going to have to have your roommates move their car to be able to get in and out. And so what they do is they park in the street. And so they don't fill the driveway. So we may end up with even more cars in the street than what I'm saying.
And I apologize, I am going to have to cut you off as we
That's
are.
pretty much fix it for me. That's all I wanted to
And
say.
one of the main reasons we appreciate your concerns, and I would imagine staff is listening to those. However, this commission specifically, and I would venture to say council's hands are tied based on what you were, why we're having to do this.
I understand.
Yes, sir.
But this, which you have to do, and like I said, it's the law, you have to do it. But, and I have no sidewalks on my street, so it's even dangerous to walk or drive on my street, and with many, many more cars, which could legally be put. So all I'm doing is imploring the city to take that into account.
All right, I think we do have a parking thing for the city right now. So I agree with everything you're saying, but the city has put out a way for you to voice all your concerns, where they want all of us as residents to let them know what we should do in reference to parking. So I'm 100% agreeing with you, so you're technically preaching to the choir right now.
And I'd be happy to come back and say this again, but this is specifically because of this legislation that we're talking about tonight. So
Yes, sir,
anybody
but-
here needs to hear this.
Yes, sir, but they have something in place right now for you to voice your concerns, and the city will be paying attention to.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, he's gonna tell you.
September 30th is the date of the parking meeting. So September 30th, there'll be a meeting that's for anyone in the area. It's primarily looking at Eastgate and Southside for overnight parking as directed by the council. The council's also directed staff to go forward and look at opportunities for how do we put more physical attributes on how do you regulate an unplanned over occupancy.
Okay, well, I'm here tonight because I got a letter of notice of this hearing, so I thought this would be an appropriate place to say this, despite what you're saying.
It certainly is. We appreciate your
We
comments.
appreciate your comments, and that's why I wanted to let everyone know, like, staff is listening. Obviously, the commission is looking at listening, as Commissioner Watson said, like, there are additional avenues for you to speak. Unfortunately, for this commission, there wouldn't be anything that we could do to address those concerns this evening.
From the time I stood up.
Yes, sir. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this group of items? Step forward, state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Will McCauley. I live at 1905 Comal Circle. I was highly involved in the establishment of Rue 4466, as well as the legislative advocacy efforts in opposition to 1567. So I'm very aware that P&Z's hands, the city's hands, are kind of tied on this. I understand that the roofs have to be removed. I would ask and recommend that both P&Z and the city council and city staff take it upon themselves to alert owners and educate them on what options are available to us to still enforce restrictions on occupancy. Specifically, 1567 does have a component of it, section 211055, which carves out HOAs and allows HOAs to continue to enforce occupancy restrictions. I think it's just important for citizens to know that. That's what my neighborhood will be doing. We'll be setting up an HOA for the express purpose of enforcing occupancy restrictions through deed restrictions. So that's what I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was my question, so. you
Quick
can't-
question
you can't-
on that. One, HOAs have always been able to enforce through their deed restrictions, their occupancy limits, correct?
Correct.
And then number two, as he's asking, does the city have a plan and I may have missed it already, for informing everyone what the effect of this repeal is, or the effect that will be on some of that are already in place?
Yeah, I don't recall the exact language that we sent out in the letter, but it touched a little bit on it. But ultimately, most of the areas, and as the gentleman mentioned, is HOAs can continue to enforce. You can form an HOA. Obviously, the burden of enforcement is
Falls back on
changing,
them.
and so that was the big difference with RUs versus other HOAs that were doing that enforcement. As the bill outlines, that from a city standpoint, there is no enforcement opportunity based on essentially almost anything related to people. However, there are physical attributes to a structure that you can look at to how do you limit larger buildings being built that might be incongruent with other areas. And so that's something that staff is looking at, or staff at the direction of council is looking at. The only other piece, as was mentioned by the other gentleman, was the three people per room. In theory, if you were able to, I'm not sure we've ever seen that, but if you were able to prove that in some regard, that is a state law, so there would be an ability for that to be enforced. But that would be a much that would be really difficult. It'd go back to the kind of the enforcement issues with the no more than four stuff.
But the city, just for clarity, the city is looking to now more accurately look at what's on a property instead of who's on a property, but in the effort to curtail some of the concerns that gentleman brought up, but also.
Correct. And to add, just for total transparency, it would be for new development.
Yes,
It is very hard to go retroactively, I think, as everyone probably understands. But moving forward, there are abilities to parking or street parking, et cetera, things like that. Opportunities to look at growth that we've brainstormed on and are presenting to council here in the next few meetings, actually, I think end of October.
But as you mentioned, HOAs do have the ability to continue to do that, and I would want everyone to know that going forward, that you do still have that as a way to move forward.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Would anyone else like to step forward? Yes, ma'am.
Leslie Winky, 8410 Justin Avenue. I'm right in the middle of 4391. My question is that if the HOA has the ability to restrict what they can, why does that bring us into this? The change of the ROO?
I guess I'm not quite understanding your question. The ROOs were put into place to allow the city to help with that enforcement. The state has said that the city can no longer be a part of that enforcement, but HOAs can and have always had the ability to do that enforcement. That's a civil situation that you would have to bring a civil case against the property owner.
So this is just strictly when we look at 4391, it's just showing that y'all are taking yourselves off.
The
of it.
city is removing that overlay for that area because the city is no longer allowed to handle that part of the code enforcement.
Just
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
make sure I'm clear on that. Thank you.
And just to add to clarity, actually, the way that the law is written, if we have anything on the books, we are liable for suit. So it's not even just that we can't do anything about it anyways, but we need to clean it up so we don't get sued by the state.
Yes, okay. Would anyone else like to step forward? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and I amend that and we will keep the public hearing open. I do apologize for that, ma'am.
My name's Beth Haddon. I live at 1201 Charles Court. It's off of Anderson and Hollick. My question is, because we're overrun by students, there's only 3 homeowners in our neighborhood. We don't have an HOA. We can't do anything about students. And so, you know, we're kind of at the hands of, the only thing that I do as far as looking over my neighborhood, I use the see and click fix
Yes,
kind
ma'am.
of thing,
Mhm.
because they're right. Students don't live in the same environment that we do. They're gone for the summer. They don't water their yard. They don't mow their yard. They don't, you know. So anyway, I don't have any recourse for this. So,
Can I be blunt with you?
pardon?
Can I be blunt with you?
Sure.
'Cause I'm in the same situation with the street house there, and we lost. There's nothing we can do right now except vote for better people in state office, and hopefully they repeal it.
Okay.
And I would also say in that, like, and I'm not sure exactly what the streets that you're on, I do as far as like, but there's still parking enforcement, there's still noise enforcement. There are still other codes that the city has and has continued to have in place that can be some remedy for you when it comes to that. And I would invite anyone in these situations, as we're having to remove those, to remember that and utilize those to the full extent that you can if you're having those issues.
Yeah. And someone mentioned, was this brought into legislature by students? Was that my understanding?
Correct. It was a SGA rep that started the conversation with Senator Betancourt and started this legislation.
And then, I don't know exactly how long this can be enforced. Is it so many years and then something can be, no, it's just on the books and?
It is on the books for forever until they change it.
All right, thank you.
And I want to make sure I'm looking out better this time. Is there anyone else that would like to step forward? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. As a commission, we do have to address these individually, and so I will need a motion and a second for each one individually from 5.3 to 5.12.
I move to approve 5.3.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Yes, sir.
My concern is the legislature took another piece of local control away from our community. It shows that every 2 years, everyone needs to step up and not only come before us with your comments and concerns, but take the next step to go get a hold of your representative, let them know, let the legislature know, because each time it erodes on what we can do in this community. We've already seen challenges by growth. Students are here. They've always been here. We're here because of students. But if we want to maintain a community, we need the voice that we had tonight, the voice that we had before the council a week ago, continually showing up and not only here locally, but carrying it straight to our representatives with our concern. We were paired out of the state as one of the few universities with this ordinance that was put in place. It becomes a challenge. These type of things of cherry picking becomes a real challenge for us. We got into the whole RU and WHO concerned because of an issue that was in our community. and local support for that change was passed. It became a challenge that we felt we addressed. It was carried beyond us and addressed at the legislative level, and a law was created. So I ask that these type of issues, if we don't step up, will continue to erode on what our local control is. Thank you.
Chairman, if I may just interject, just for Kristen, for the record, so she can get it straight. When we go through these items, would you mind just raising the hands of who's first and second for the minutes? Because I assume we're going to rapid fire through these since there's about 9 of them, but just so she can keep it straight.
We will go slow enough, and I want to make sure, does anybody else have any discussion before we start moving through these? All right, I will go back. I will entertain a motion for 5.3.
I make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Now to 5.4, we need a motion and a second.
I make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is approved. 5.5, same.
Motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes, 5.6, motion and a second.
Motion.
All those, discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. 5.7.
Motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I'll say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. 5.8.
Move.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes. 5.9.
Move.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. That motion passes. 5.10.
Make a motion.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. That motion passes. 5.11.
Make a motion.
All those in favor, discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. 5.12.
Make a motion.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank y'all very much. We got through those very quickly. Did we handle that okay? We're good? Okay. Continuing on, item number 5.13, public hearing, presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding an ordinance amending Appendix A of the Unified Development Ordinance, Article 2, Development Review Bodies, Section 2.2, Planning and Zoning Commission of the Code of Ordinances of the City of College Station, Texas, regarding the removal of the Planning and Zoning Commission designation as the Impact Fee Advisory Committee. That will be you, Ms. Cotter.
It's me. Thank you. Good evening. Carol Cotter, City Engineer. Pretty short and sweet. This item is an ordinance amendment removing the Planning and Zoning Commission's designation as the Impact Fee Advisory Committee. Recent legislation removed the authority of the Planning and Zoning Commission to act as the Impact Fee Advisory Committee. And this proposed ordinance amendment removes a couple roles and duties to align with state statute. So this item is before you tonight because it's a text amendment to the UDO. So final action will be at the City Council, the 25th meeting of the City Council, along with the creation of the new IFAC. And the current proposed composition of that IFAC is 8 members. Half will be from the real estate development and building industries. It's also proposed to have 2 members of P&Z, with the chair acting as the chair for the IFAC, and then 2 ad hoc members. But the final decision will be made on the 25th, next Thursday. And then we will go out for applications. Hope to have a significant number of applicants for appointment on the November, the first council meeting in November. So I'm available for any questions that you have.
2 quick questions for me. This is to align with, just want to make sure that everyone's clear that this is to align with new state legislation, correct?
Bill 1883.
And I know the current proposal is to...
didn't change it, sorry.
I know the current proposal, or what council said at one of the previous meetings, is to have 2 members. Had they made any clarification if 2 other members of planning and zoning could be of that ad hoc if they so chose, or is it limited to those 2 members?
They can choose to do either. When we had the conversation with the council, there was a workshop item back in August 14th, 15th maybe. We had conversation on really 0 to 2 P&Z and 2 to 4 ad hoc. So the way that we wrote it to present to them is 2 and 2. They're more than free to amend that. We'll have that discussion with them at their next meeting. But it could be up to 4. The caveat to P&Z members is that you actually, even if you do, one of you is in the industry, that's those other 4 appointees, you are not allowed by law to serve because you're a government official in this role. So you wouldn't be able to go like the whole P&Z, for instance, because that would break the other 4 people.
And if you didn't pay attention, 4 of those have to be from the development by statute.
Correct, and they cannot be a government employee or official. So in our community, actually, what that really means is Texas A&M. So if you work at Texas A&M, you are ineligible even if you have some sort of development-related background.
And I'm just asking for the state of the commission, should they, if they wanted to apply for appointment as those other 2, they technically could, if they chose to. I mean.
Oh, correct, they could.
Apply for appointment as the other 2 ad hoc, if they wanted to.
Correct.
Would you run afoul of if you had 4 zoning commissioners on a walking quorum or the Open Meetings Act? Would you run afoul of that if you had 4 commissioners on that committee?
So the Open Meetings Act would apply, so it would still be noticed and it would be a public meeting, so no. The requirement's 50% be from the community.
Okay. And like I said, I just wanted to get those out for clarification for everyone. Is there any other questions?
It is a public hearing, by the way.
Thank you. As we were just reminded, this is a public hearing. I will now open the public hearing. The secretary has let us know that no one has signed up. I will open this up for anyone to step forward on this. And I will take my time before I close the public hearing this time. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing and I will move to the will of the commission.
I'll move to amend the ordinance.
Mike. No, your mic, sorry. No, I was saying your mic.
But if there's no discussion, I move for, to approve amending the ordinance.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Anybody have any discussion?
I think I've already voiced my concern.
Yes, sir. And on that, I would echo what you've said previously on the other ones as far as what some of these state mandated changes allows for local control with the cities, and this would be one of those again. But thank you for that. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you very much, Ms. Carter. We will move to 5.14, a public hearing, presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding the comprehensive plan 5-year evaluation and appraisal report and associate appendices. Ms. Leal.
Good evening, Commissioners. Christine Liao, Planning Development Services. So this evening I do have for you the Comprehensive Plan 5-year Evaluation and Appraisal Report. So our comprehensive plan actually directs us to do an evaluation and appraisal every 5 years with input from various departments, the Planning and Zoning Commission, other appropriate boards, but we also go to the residents, the community, and our elected officials as well. So the very last page of the comprehensive plan lays out exactly what we're expected to do with this report. And so kind of got it summarized here in these 3 bullet points. So essentially what we're asked to do is evaluate the basic conditions and assumptions around trends and growth indicators. So this is more than just our demographic trends and our land use trends. We also look at social, political, economic trends too. And so this is what we bring to you as the existing conditions report, and you all got this back in March. So we're also asked to summarize major actions, interim plan amendments, and look at the evaluation if there's any potential obstacles related to unmet goals or action items. So we also bring this as part of, we do a implementation progress report, which the CPEC got, and it's in your packet tonight as well. And finally, we're asked to update any of the goals and action items or narrative in the comprehensive plan as is necessary to ensure progress towards achieving the community goals and achieving the action items that are outlined in the comp plan. So this is the process that we used. So I won't go into too much detail, but essentially it kicked off in January with the appointment of the CPEC, which several of you served on as well. So what we did as staff is at the kickoff meeting, we just got feedback from the CPEC about what we plan to do, how we plan to approach the evaluation, how we plan to get input from the community and other stakeholders, and then letting them know we'd come back to them for input on the final recommendations. So we did our public participation in March and April. We did an open public survey. We held some focus groups in conjunction with our 5-year consolidated plan update. Held a seminar supper where we talked about the comp plan, what it is, what we use it for, and how we update it. And we held an open house to get, again, just more input opportunities for people to come and provide input on the comprehensive plan. So then in April, presented existing conditions. Like I said, you all got that report at that time. And then in April, the CPEC got the implementation progress report. So where are we with the implementation progress of our current comp plan? Then we finished out our stakeholder input with boards and commissions. We went to 5 different boards and commissions. We interviewed all of our council members, and we had discussions with the staff groups that are actually responsible for implementation of the plan. So we took all that feedback and created an engagement report. Took that engagement report to the CPEC for their final workshop in August. So presented to them the engagement and also had a discussion on possible recommendations. So in that workshop, we got final recommendations from the committee, and that is what is in your report tonight. Excuse me. So just wanted to provide you a real quick snapshot of the implementation progress that was presented to the CPEC. And again, like I said, I believe it's Appendix B. So of our 98 action items that are outlined in the comp plan, we've achieved 5%. And so we had a long discussion with CPEC about why that appears dismal and not very good progress. But actually over 70% of our action items as they're written are written as continuous, ongoing action items that we don't achieve, like we don't stop working on. So they're never marked as achieved. We're always on track and working on those action items. So it's not as bad as it looks. We're actually doing really good with implementation. So these are some of our top themes that we heard from engagement. So the top 2 had a lot to do with housing and neighborhoods. And again, a lot of this input was gathered during the legislative session, so it was a very hot topic on people's minds, and still is really. But a call to look at affordable, diverse housing, but also how we are managing growth and neighborhood integrity, particularly in established areas. Another item that was brought up was concern about infrastructure strain and potential service gaps. So none were specifically identified or called out. Just people acknowledge that College Station is growing fast. We have limited resources, natural resources. So they just wanted to make sure that the city is planning and has plans to maintain a high level of service, particularly in terms of water and electricity was what was brought up the most. For mobility and transportation gaps, it was specifically talked about our public transit, so timing, routes, things like that. The comments related to pedestrian connections were a little mixed. There was a lot of praise for the work that has been done to make those pedestrian connections, but also wanting to emphasize that they want the city to keep looking at making those connections. Workforce and economic opportunity, wanted to emphasize that in updating our economic development plan that we are considering ways to increase our workforce development, specifically that we target non-degree seeking occupations, things like that. And finally, there was a desire for improved communication and accessible participation. So a lot of the feedback had to do with people didn't know things that were happening. And not because we weren't putting that information out, but maybe it wasn't well known where the information was. And when the information that's there, like, are we using too much jargon when we talk about certain things, development and planning related? Excuse me. So, this is my last slide. So, again, several pages of recommendations in your report. I just wanted to highlight just a few of them. So, excuse me. In general, one of the general had 4 general recommendations, and one was just to have stronger emphasis on environmental sustainability, environmental resilience, and specifically looking at how we can better incorporate that in Chapter 2 and Chapter 8, so our distinctive places and our managed growth. Another was to add as-of dates to all maps. So there's certain maps that we have in the comprehensive plan that we actually maintain an active layer, GIS layer, so our future land use. Whenever we have comprehensive plan amendment changes, we go in and update that layer. So online and publicly accessible, we have a completely up-to-date map, but it differs from what's in the static map in the document. So we just want to add as-of dates to make it clear why those maps might not look the same. Removing some repeated and redundant narratives. So all the chapters were kind of written to be standalone chapters. So there is some narrative that is repeated throughout. So just to make it easier to read and more accessible, to make more people want to read the riveting comp plan, we're recommending removing some of that repeated narrative. And finally, incorporating strategies to ensure rapid response to changes in technology. Again, nothing specifically was brought up. It was just a lot of folks concerned about how quickly technology changes and making sure that the city has ways to respond to that in terms of our service delivery. Again, specifically looking at water, wastewater, and electricity, and some micro-mobility transportation. So, by chapter. So, Chapter 2 recommends updating our planning areas map. So, as we retire small area plans, we remove them from our planning areas map. So, we do have a retired planning area that's on that map that needs to be removed. So, that map needs updated. Looking to incorporate more narrative on the development and adoption of our housing action plan. So we've done a lot around housing and neighborhood integrity regarding Chapter 3 in the last several years. So we just need to update the narrative in that chapter to reflect what things we have accomplished and the direction we've moved things for housing. Related to Chapter 4, the recommendation is to add the goals, strategies, and action items of the Economic Development Master Plan after it is updated. So it's currently in the works right now, should be updated and adopted into this year, beginning of next year. So there was concern that it's kind of hidden in the comprehensive plan. So the recommendation is to just bring some of that narrative straight out of that master plan and put it in the comprehensive plan. For Chapter 6, removing a number of lane miles map, 6.1. Again, it's kind of an obsolete map that we don't really use that dictates how our thoroughfares get built, and evaluate the thoroughfare plan in the vicinity of Pebble Creek Parkway Extension. And this, of course, is the subject of a workshop item that's next week. For Chapter 8, updating our growth strategy to reflect legislative changes. So the changes really in the last 5-ish years related to annexation and ETJ, opting out of the ETJ, that we need to update what we have laid out in Chapter 8 to reflect those changes, specifically removing map 8.1 and table 8.1 that talk about our annexation priority areas, because we don't really look at those that way anymore in terms of our growth strategy. And finally, to update the implementation table and certain action items. So it's a natural thing that happens as we go to implement these action items. Sometimes they become obsolete, irrelevant. Council changes direction on some things. So there's some that just need to be updated and amended in terms of how they're written so that they're more relevant and more clear and give staff better direction about exactly what is expected to be accomplished. So though, again, several pages of recommendations. These are just the highlights. So I'm happy to answer any questions about these or any of the other ones that are laid out in the plan. This will be presented next week to City Council for their consideration. So what we're looking for is to approve the report, and on approving the report, that gives us direction that you would like us to go implement the changes to the comprehensive plan to make these recommendations implemented, unless there are any of the recommendations that you have concerns about. And then we can talk about that, but barring any concerns about any of the recommendations, we will start making changes to the comp plan based on what's in the report.
I'm just confused as to how, even though there are repeated and redundant narratives, people aren't just picking this up to read it all the time.
Blows my mind.
It's shocking. Just kidding. Any questions or additional concerns for this? Looking down either side. This is scheduled for a public hearing. I do have some people that have signed up. We will open the public hearing, and I have Katie Roper and Carrie Roper. You can just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kerry Roper, 5205 Hawks Ridge Drive. I am a resident of Pebble Creek, and I'm speaking on behalf of the HOA board and the almost 1,400 people who have signed our petition in opposition to the extension of Pebble Creek Parkway to the south, as originally included in the proposed comprehensive and thoroughfare plans. This extension was based on an outdated traffic study, and it really needs to be reevaluated. We feel this extension would increase traffic through our neighborhoods such that it would increase noise and avenues for crime. It would impair the safety of the hundreds of walkers, joggers, cyclists, cart drivers, and users of the Lick Creek Park walking trail. It will imperil golfers who have to cross Pebble Creek Parkway twice to play a round of golf on College Station's only non-campus golf course. And it will reduce the property values of our homes. And the bottom line is this: it's not needed, now or in the future. We support growth, but Lakeway Drive is a wide commercial roadway that can be upgraded to a minor arterial. In addition, Rock Prairie can be connected to the new development that is to be called Savannah Oaks. And in fact, without Pebble Creek Parkway as a thoroughfare, the plan still has 3 north-south corridors within 1.9 miles of each other. Now, when Christine presented this plan to the committee on August 18th, and Trey and Mike, you might remember this, she shared that the number one concern that they heard in feedback sessions was neighborhoods. She also shared that the feedback from the boards and committees voiced, quote, concerns whether decisions are being applied in a manner consistent with the comprehensive plan's objective of preserving long-term neighborhood integrity. Well, it appears that these concerns are valid, as the original plan is not following this objective and will desecrate Pebble Creek's neighborhood integrity. Now, we are glad that they are asking for it to be evaluated further, but as you see in my request at the end, we hope that maybe you might take some action tonight. Dr. Tom Jackson was on the P&Z a few years ago. You know, this issue's been around for a long time, and Pebble Creek Parkway has been Pebble Creek residents have been arguing against this for a long time. But he brought up several concerns at that time, and he feels like they're still valid today. Pipeline easement issues, transmission line complications, wetlands and floodplain concerns, and the lack of capacity for traffic through our neighborhood. He indicated that no action was taken at that time, but we understand that Silverfin, the developer of the land to the south, is hoping to get approval for their development plans this fall. So this decision is not one that we can keep kicking down the road. Incidentally, the developers did not request the connection of Pebble Creek Parkway. The only reason that it's in their plans is because the city has required them to put them in there. So given that one of the core responsibilities of a planning and zoning committee is to protect neighborhood character and safety, what I'm asking remove the requirement for the developer to connect to existing Pebble Creek Parkway, and likewise redesignate Pebble Creek Parkway from an arterial classification to a neighborhood collector street. And going forward, we would be glad to work with the city and anybody else to come up with some practical options. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie Roper?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.
I'm sorry, if you could state your name and address.
Katie Roper. I live at 2170 Rockcliffe Floof, College
Thank you.
Station in Castlegate. But thank you for the opportunity to speak in regards to the extension of Pebble Creek Parkway. As I said, my family and I live in Castlegate, but we spend probably half our days in Pebble Creek, where my 2-year-old sons, Dina and Poppy, and Momo and Pop Pop live. I'm here to express my strong opposition to the proposed thoroughfare through the Pebble Creek community. Right now, Pebble Creek is a safe, quiet, two-way in, two-way out community. This design isn't an accident. It protects families, pedestrians, and the quality of life in this neighborhood. Adding a thoroughfare would fundamentally change the character of this area. It would invite cut-through traffic, speeding, and potential congestion. We know that from other studies in other cities that when residential streets become through routes, traffic volumes rise sharply, and so do potential collisions and near misses, especially involving children and seniors. One of the things we love most about Pebble Creek is its walkability. Families, kids, and grandparents regularly are out for walks, frequently crossing Pebble Creek Parkway. Right now, this is a safe place to walk a dog, ride bikes, or push a stroller. Turning that quiet street into a busy corridor would make something as simple as crossing to the park far more dangerous and would rob the neighborhood of a daily joy that ties the community together. Beyond safety, there's also the issue of noise, pollution, and property value. Pebble Creek is one of the most sought-after neighborhoods in College Station because of the sense of community and security. A major roadway slicing through the middle threats both of these things. This isn't just about traffic engineering. It's about preserving the safety, character, and livability of a neighborhood that community members have worked really hard to build. So I ask you to please remove this from your comprehensive and thoroughfare plans. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anna B.
My name is Anna Lou Busboom, and I live at 5210 Hawks Ridge Drive in Pebble Creek. First of all, let me say I'm excited about the continued growth of College Station. I celebrated when Costco opened so close to me, and we all love all the restaurants as they open. However, I would hope that the city planners would try to consider the residents of affected neighborhoods more instead of just looking at everything on paper. Everyone's quick to say that they support neighborhood integrity, and it's easy to say that when you're listing things that you stand for. But I just can't see how the extension of Pebble Creek Parkway fits into preserving our community. As a resident of Pebble Creek, my late husband and I carefully researched communities in College Station when we decided to return here to make our home. Since both of us were golfers, we looked for an established neighborhood that gave us the ability to drive our golf cart to the club to play. Pebble Creek thrives because of the safety and tranquility of our neighborhood, which offers the country club atmosphere. It is an established community where everyone takes the responsibility of maintaining the beauty of our homes and surroundings. Our strong HOA keeps everyone informed and engaged. I defy you to drive on any street in Pebble Creek and find an unmanicured area. Everybody takes very strong pride in that. Pebble Creek Parkway is the very heart of our community, and it's used daily by walkers, joggers, bicycles, and golf carts. The extension of Pebble Creek Parkway to the south would threaten the integrity and overall character of our entire neighborhood. The residents of Pebble Creek are engaged, stable, politically active, and take great pride in our community. Not only did many of them sign, I think a little over 1,350 people have signed our petition to stop this extension, but many of them wrote messages to support their positions in some of these examples. There were over 350 people that took the time to write paragraphs and talk about the importance of preserving Pebble Creek Parkway. I'm going to read you just a couple of them. We recently moved here because it's a quiet community, perfect for our family with little ones. Safety is our highest priority, and additional traffic creates concerning safety issues. Another wrote, please prioritize neighborhood safety and quality of life above business development. Another one wrote, Pebble Creek is a College Station gem. Close, safe, peaceful neighborhoods like Pebble Creek are exactly why College Station is such a wonderful place to live. Please do not destroy it. And also, please reconsider what this does to the safety of the College Station's flagship subdivision. In conclusion, I ask that you support a redesignation of the Pebble Creek Parkway from a thoroughfare to a neighborhood street or minor collector, and remove any plans to continue to connect to south areas south of our. In the proposed comprehensive plan and thoroughfare plan, it shows that it's a thoroughfare. When you look at the satellite, that makes sense. But when you look at the community that's grown around this neighborhood street, it cuts right through the middle of it, and it doesn't make sense. We feel that there are viable alternatives such as Lakeway and Rock Prairie, and we would really appreciate your support in this issue. Please work with us to find a better solution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to step forward to speak on this item? With that, I will close the public hearing. I do have a question, I guess, for you, Anthony, for clarification for everyone. What final effect does the comprehensive plan and thoroughfare plan have on, I guess, basically like putting a road through? Does the comprehensive plan and thoroughfare plan, is that the final authority on making sure that the road eventually goes through?
Two-part answer to that question. So by and large, yes, the comprehensive plan and the thoroughfare plan, which is what it's kind of subject to or addition into the comprehensive land use plan, is the ultimate authority on when someone comes in for development, we're going to follow that plan. That's the community plan that's been agreed upon. The slight caveat to that quote in part 2 is that something like Pebble Creek Parkway already shows a projection. There's a street projection already to go south. Regardless of it was a residential street or not, it would be required to continue south per the subdivision regulations. So even if it was removed via the comprehensive plan, it would require a waiver to a preliminary plan and final plat when that property comes into development to not extend, because projections and connectivity is a part of the ordinance. At the UDO level with the subdivision regulations, it would be a two-part approach. So the thoroughfare aspect of, certain right-of-way dedications and things like that, that's designated by the thoroughfare plan. But a lot about the thoroughfare plan as well is its functionality. So some thoroughfares are designated as such because they just function that way, period. It doesn't matter if we added to them or not. They're already collecting. In this case, they're collecting all these residents, even in Pebble Creek. It's already acting as a collector. Right, that section already does its job as is designated per its street classification. So it's a two-part piece to your question. But yeah, the comp plan is one piece, and the subdivision regulations would be the second. That regardless, it would still require a road to continue.
So, and sorry, now this is just for me, so I can make sure I'm understanding as well. So the comp plan and thoroughfare plan can say something, and if it were removed from those two because it's in the subdivision plan, the road still has to continue.
Correct. A road. So
it
would be a residential street, so 50-foot, at the minimum would be a 50-foot right-of-way, 27 feet of pavement, sidewalks both sides, et cetera. That would be the absolute minimum per projection requirements in the UDO.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you very much. We appreciate
Sorry, I do have
go
one
ahead.
question.
Sorry.
But that could be waived.
It would require a waiver. It's not even an option. They have to request a waiver, and then it would be up to actually the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve or deny that waiver.
Also, but this specifically to the Pebble Creek and the Parkway extension is on the council's agenda for review as well. Would our recommendation for approval for the comp plan and thoroughfare plan does not affect council continuing to review that particular item, correct? Or
Correct. And just to step back a slight second, what you're actually doing tonight has nothing to do with approval of a
Right.
comp plan or approval of thoroughfare
Correct.
plan. It's you're recommending approval of a report,
that
which
goes to
was
it.
staff's review of all those
Yeah.
documentations. And ultimately, there's anything that would come would be a recommendation, which then council would have to approve this report and those recommendations. That then directs staff to go and do something.
To the comp plan.
And what we've given the interaction around Pebble Creek Parkway specifically, there's a separate workshop agenda item to have a discussion on it. And then from that, council can decide if they want to give action, or if they want to give direction to staff to do something or not on that specific issue. This is this is all 52 square miles of the city as part of this document in that review, not a specific area. That's that other agenda item on next meeting.
So I specifically was asking those questions so that y'all will understand that this is just a small piece of a report that goes into the broader piece of what y'all are looking at for those specific parts of the comp plan and the thoroughfare plan. However, as I think y'all know, council is going to be talking about specifically Pebble Creek Parkway and the upcoming meeting. So I wanted to make sure that clarification was there. That being said, is there any more discussion about this particular item? We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Are there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you again very much. We appreciate that, and I appreciate everybody that took the time to express their voices and opinions this evening. We will move on to the informational agenda, discussion of new development applications with the city. Anybody have any questions over those for staff? All right, we will continue on. 6.2, we have the upcoming calendar. September 25th, council will be here. October 2nd, we have a meeting here currently. October the 9th will be a council meeting here at the chambers, and I will be at that one, Anthony, to talk about this item. And then October the 16th is a P&Z meeting here. No, as far as I know, there weren't any design review board meetings. Well, I know that one, but and nothing on the buyer corridor as well. Any future action items that we need to discuss? Yes, sir. And Mike.
Yeah. Anthony, with all this elimination of roos and who's and everything else, I know there was a lot of staff time that was put in on looking at replatting and redoing sites and everything else. Is that just stopped, or is issues still ongoing with some of them? In relationship, as far as, like, a lot of them were trying to add additional parking on their sites and stuff like that. I didn't know.
Oh, for shared housing?
Yes.
So there's a couple of things that were in the pipeline, so to speak, and they finished out. But since the legislation, it just follows back to essentially what the rules and regulations were prior to shared housing, RUs, and who's and things like that. So it reduces staff time to some degree there, but a lot of this, there has been a large amount of staff time invested into gaining compliance again with state law, for sure.
Well, and that'll follow with the parking meeting in September end of September that you've got addressed.
Correct.
Because that just moves them back out on the streets, which are very, very narrow. So, thank you.
Any other future items we need to discuss? Well, again, thank you to the staff. Thank you to everyone. I know this was one of the longer meetings that we've had in a while, but I appreciate everybody. And with that, we are adjourned.